Another week goes by, and the Titans did not address the offensive skill positions on this team. We talk about it next with a brand new guest on Sick Pod Talking Titans. Sammy, starts up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 94 yards. Touchdown, Titans. He is the baddest man in the NFL, and he just took her to the house.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast.
Sick!
It's gonna be sick.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We got a brand new guest on tonight. I'm not going to hesitate to bring him in, but before I bring him in, he is the co-host of the 3HL weekdays between 3 and 6 p.m. Central Time. He's joined alongside with Dawn Davenport and Ron Slay. Mr. Brett Daughtry.
Yo, what up, boys?
How you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, we're good, man. I love that Oilers hat, dude.
Yeah, no, everyone's been commenting on YouTube where I got it. So, I mean, I've been rocking it ever since on the podcast. So I love the old school look. Can't wait for them to wear it this year.
Yeah, they're going to wear it. It's a funny story. Like, they actually wanted to get it done this year. So when the NFL told teams that you could do the retro uniforms, the Titans responded, but not quick enough. And they responded quickly. Yeah, they had to wait a year. But we'll get it out there this year. It'll be cool.
Yeah, hopefully they get it against Houston. Like that's the rumor has it with everything.
I mean, why not, right? Like you have to do it then.
Makes the most sense. Before we get into some topics over here, I know we touched on it off the air, but I want to say it on the air. Prayers to you and the Nashville community of the tragedy that happened on Monday. The school shootings in this country is just getting out of hand, and our kids going to school are supposed to be safe while they're learning, and it's not supposed to be a cemetery for kids. And I really don't want to turn this into a political statement at all. Just want to push forward and say we are sorry, and we're thinking about the Nashville community from the Sick Pod Talking Titans.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's just a horrific situation. 3 9-year-olds, a substitute teacher, a head of school, who used to work at the school where my kids go to school.
Absolutely insane.
And a custodian who actually during graduations he would sing the Lord's Prayer. And just had a beautiful voice. His name was Mike Hill, and it's been a sad week. But this is, as you guys know, Nashville is a community where we put our arms around everybody, and we love everybody in good times and bad, and we pick people up here, and that's what we're doing.
And Nashville strong all the way. So getting into our beloved Titans, like I said in the intro, they did not address the offensive skills positions on this team yet again coming into this week. Brett, in all honesty, what the hell are the Titans doing in the offensive skill position room? They have Traylon Burks, NWI, Kyle Phillips. 2 out of the 3 guys can't stay on the field. Like, am I crazy thinking I want a trade for Allen Robinson or a trade for DeAndre Hopkins and them drafting Jackson Smith at 11? Like, what are they going to do with this position?
I don't know, man, and I don't know that they know. But you're right. But like you mentioned, Nick Westbrook-Aquino, who's actually a free agent, so they could lose him.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, and so like Kyle Phillips is a guy that we all forget about because he had a great offseason last year, and he should plug and play in the slot, right? But I keep forgetting about him, actually, when you start running down the depth chart at wide receiver. But it's like Traylon Burks and then what, Bracey McMath? Mason Kinsey, like
stop.
I mean, that's where they are. That's where they are. So I don't know. Everybody thinks like they need an offensive guard. Obviously, they did retool the offensive line in the free agent period, the early free agent period. I think Rand Carthon had like a low key, really good free agency period. They didn't address what you said right there, but they did get numbers on the offensive line and at linebacker, which we'll talk about. But they do need one more offensive guard, right? So everybody kind of slotting that deal there. Is it Skoronski if he's still there from Northwestern with the short arms? He's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Wants to play tackle, but he's got the short arms, so he has to go inside. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't go wide receiver there at 11 because I think you'll have your pick of the lot, really.
Yeah, I think they hit it off. Hopefully, I mean, with Jackson Smith and Njigba at 11, but going into the offensive guard, even in a couple waves down the line in the free agency waves, there's I think the guard out of Denver with the Broncos, Riser. If you sign a guy like him and it saves you from drafting an offensive guard in round 2, and maybe you can attack, because I'm okay with Dillard at left tackle. So if you attack wide receiver and tight end and back-to-back rounds 1 and 2, maybe you get like Jackson Smith, like I said, I've been high on his horse the whole podcast, and you get like a Darnell Washington in round 2, that solidifies those positions in my opinion. So hopefully this happens.
Yeah, I know you want skill position, but and I shouldn't say like the history of the team shows us maybe they don't go that direction. I mean, they drafted AJ Brown high, but Rand Carthon, we still don't know what Rand Carthon is. You know what I mean? As a general manager, we see what kind of roster he's built. We see, the narrative that he and Mike Vrabel are putting out there is really in sync with players that need to be able to do multiple things, want to increase the speed, all of those things. It's what's funny to me about the message that they're putting out there about what they want this roster to look like, what they want this team to be, is that Derrick Henry doesn't fit. That's the interesting part about this to me. So my question is, do they try to move Derrick Henry, or do they try to move him and they can't get what they want? You know what I mean? Like that part is fascinating to me. Maybe we'll never know. And they'll just redo his contract because they have to do that. And he'll still be there. I don't know. But what's interesting too about the offensive line, like if you go guard at 11, then you're putting a guard, probably a rookie guard at right guard, a second-year player at right tackle, because the people I talk to say Brunskill's going to play left guard, that Andre Dillard's going to play left tackle. And you didn't bring Dillard in to compete because you're paying him $10 million a year. Like he's your left tackle. And then, you move Aaron Brewer into center, which I think he played better at center than guard. How much better? How good is he? Those are all things that can be debated, but I don't know. Like I haven't really gone down the wide receiver path at 11, but like you bringing it up makes me kind of salivate toward that area.
I mean, I think you kind of have to think about it at this point. I mean, having maybe a DJ Sharp or a Marvin Jones. I mean, there's not much left on the list. I mean, unless you want to sign a 30-something-year-old Jarvis Landry who had 300 yards last year. My question to you is, though, in a perfect world, let's just say, and Cameron Wolf was on a few weeks ago, and him and I shared the same sentiment that, and I think you do as well. Bring in as many good offensive linemen as you can via the draft and free agency and put them in a room and figure it out. Do you think in a perfect world, let's just say a guy like Paris Johnson is there at 11 or Skoronski, and you do have maybe a Quentin Johnson or Jackson Smith-Njigba there as well? What do you think the Titans would be more likely to do with that pick if they have the pick of the litter there? And because I'm sure they have their players ranked, but there is a possibility that, a handful of those players could still be there at 11 and the Titans can have their choice. Does their lack of going after receiver and free agency and going after the line make you think that, okay, at 11, it is a real possibility, even though you say it's not the Titan way perhaps, but Rand Carthon runs this team now, so he can have his own philosophies and ideologies. What do you think, should a few of those players be there, that can make a difference overnight? Which way do you think they lean?
Well, I mean, I started to go through the depth chart at wide receiver and you made me stop. So, like, I think that's an indication that, I mean, look, if Quentin Johnston from TCU is there, Jordan Addison's a guy I loved at Pittsburgh. He goes to USC. Love that guy. Zay Flowers is a guy, talking to people around the league that everybody seems to love him. And then, of course, Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State. Those are the four, right? Like, so you'll have your pick of one of those dudes if you want to do it at 11. You brought up a good point, though, Vin. It's like, what is Rand Carthon's roster going to look like in 2 years? Like, how reshaped is this thing going to be? Because they talk about wanting players that have multiple skills and like a very diverse skill set. And you start thinking about the players that we've seen dominating it in San Francisco, and you kind of get an idea in your head that maybe he is going to drastically change this roster. The thing about it is, if you keep Ryan Tannehill for one more year and he, like, what's the offense going to look like? Think about the quarterbacks in the AFC that you're going to have to try to outscore. And you're going to do it with Derrick Henry for 350 carries again? Like, I just don't think you can do that. And so I don't know. The more that I talk with you guys and I just talk myself into wide receiver at 11, I kind of like that idea, because you're going to have to draft multiple wide receivers. It's always the deepest position anyway. Like, you can get guys later that can contribute. And I think with the way they address the offensive line and free agency, maybe you do go wide receiver, because I mean, you've got to be able to put up points. And this offense, the way it's currently structured, you can't.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing thinking about which way Carthon might want to go, because you look at San Fran's roster and with Shanahan's days, he's so predicated on running the ball and getting, his running backs in the space. And, you feel like any running back, he can plug and play into his system, and it worked. But then again, you look at their team and they have Ayuk, they have Debo, they have Kittle. They do have dynamic playmakers. So you think he's going to, stick with the run and, go with that philosophy because, it works so well in San Fran and continues to work. But then you also have your skill position players in San Fran. So I agree with you. It's kind of like a waiting game to see, how do we think he's going to build this team? Because as of late, in free agency, it's been good moves, but they're conservative moves. 1, 2 year, 3 year deals for interior linemen, for pass rushers. So they're good moves, they're conservative moves. There just hasn't been enough done yet to really know how he wants to build this team. So it's going to be interesting to see. But one more thing, talking about the draft, and I brought it up not too long ago on a few different pods, and I get, not a lot of backlash, but a lot of people don't think it's a possibility. I think it's a big possibility that, we might move back. I think Carthon might want to accumulate more picks and build a team, like you said, how he wants to build it. We don't know how he wants to build it, but he has a vision, and the more draft capital, he has, he could shape the team the way he wants it. So do you feel at all though that that's a possibility to move back and, into the late first round and maybe get a guy like Zay Flowers and then go offensive lineman in the second round, or vice versa? Do you see that as a possibility?
Yeah, there's 2 drafts, right? Like, so there's the quarterback draft and then there's the everybody else draft. And so Will Anderson's the best player, not a quarterback, right? Like, so that guy will go first. But from a Titan perspective, I'm of the opinion that they do need to move back. Like, I think they need.
I want to agree with me finally.
Yeah, based on where this roster is, they need draft capital, right? Like, so they do have options there. We've talked about wide receiver. We talked about offensive line. If you're sitting there at 11, you probably still have multiple guys that you're interested in. And if you can move back, I think it would be smart. Like, that's why I think it's kind of interesting now that you see like Anthony Richardson to the Titans, right? Like, so if I'm the Titans, I want like the possibility that I would take a quarterback at 11 out there because you want people like moving up, right? So I totally agree with you. Move back has been my plan. People would, fans would rather move up and get, the sexiest pick possible. But I don't know. Based on where they are now, I totally agree with you. Like, they need draft capital. They need more bodies. They need to upgrade this roster just in general. You mentioned Paris Johnson earlier. I think that's an interesting player. I didn't hit on that in my last answer, but played left tackle last year. Played right guard the previous year. And so, like, that's the kind of guy that I think Vrabel would like, that has a varied skill set, which, again, goes in with what Rand Carthon has talked about, too. Wanted to hit on that real quick. But, yeah, move back. I'm all in. Let's do it.
So you touched on Tannehill before. So this is a very touchy subject on this podcast. Sal's not here tonight. He hates Tannehill. So Mike Vrabel.
He's like 4th all time in Titans Oilers history.
Listen, I'm on a Tannehill hype train. So Mike Vrabel made a comment about his quarterback at the meetings yesterday. He said he expects Ryan Tannehill to be the quarterback in 2023, but, quote, he won't commit to anybody being on the roster by the end of training camp. To me, that doesn't seem like it's a confidence booster for the quarterback position. What's your thought on the whole Tannehill situation?
I think Vrabel sometimes, he says some honest things from time to time. Like in the post 2022 presser where he called out a couple of players, one of which isn't here anymore. And it signed a 2-year, $11 million deal. Like, I mean, you totally could have had him, David Long Jr. But so I think because he says interesting things like that are very honest, I think that leads us to start trying to read into everything that he says. I I don't think he's really said anything there. Like, I didn't really take anything from that. I think that Rand Carthon took this job and he put everything on the table, and everything's an option. And I think you have to do it that way, right? Like, so we even said when he got the job, like, trading Derrick Henry's got to be at least something that is discussed, right? Because running backs hit that wall and they don't gradually decline. They just hit the wall and they're gone. So, like, do you want to try to capitalize on the fact that people think, and I do too, that he has a couple more years left, or do you wait and it's too late?
You're never going to see another back like that.
All right, he's one of the best in the history of the game. We've been blessed to be able to watch him. Yep. And it's football's about business. It's not about, emotion and all those things. So I think I would look at that. I'm not saying I would do it, because I think people misunderstand what you might be able to get for Derrick Henry too. Like, I think you're talking more like a 4th round pick and multiple picks, but I think that's probably where it starts. Most fans fall in love with players based on emotion. They love watching them run, and they know that he's one of the best ever. So you start thinking, man, you can get a 2nd round pick and a 3rd round next year and all this stuff. And I just don't see that for him. Maybe they thought, if we can get that, then we'll do it. And maybe that's why we are where we are. But I thought it was interesting. Wes on Broadway tweeted today, Ryan Tannehill, $36.6 million against the cap. That's 2nd most in the NFL.
Yep.
So something has to be done with that contract. Derrick Henry, $16.4 million, highest among running backs. Something's got to be done with that number as well. In terms of Ryan Tannehill, if you actually sit back and think about it and look at the numbers, when he has protection, he can throw the football and put up numbers. He can. Now, back to y'all's point, run through that wide receiver depth chart again and tell me where you've got passing yards.
Yep.
I mean, Treylon Burks, I think, can be a very effective wide receiver in this league. He's not a number 1, but he has to be on this roster. They have to get faster. They've got to get more consistent at that position. They've got to come up with more than one guy that people have heard of.
Yeah, there's one thing that killed this whole thing, and it has the sour taste in everyone's mouth with Ryan Tannehill. And I put the blame on Todd Downing for 2 years. He killed Derek Carr in that offense when he had the keys to the Corvette with Amari Cooper and Darren McFadden and everybody. Now he comes over here. He had Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, killed it to the ground. If we had Arthur Smith that year against the Bengals, I personally think, and I think a lot of us do, think that we were going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl that year.
See, now that's a great point. I haven't thought about it in those terms. If Arthur Smith was pulling the strings, yeah. I mean, you go back and look at that Bengals game with the 3 picks and look at that first play and tell me where a route was that took the safety out of that position. There wasn't one. So the safety then is freelancing and watching Tannehill's eyes. Poorly designed play. That's just one play, and we happen to all watch it because he threw a pick on that play. Then what are they doing at the end of the game? And again, that's on offense coordinator and head coach. I was sitting in that stadium and I was trying to figure out, well, it looks like they're running out the clock. And then all of a sudden they throw it. And you throw it into triple coverage to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. We had Nick Westbrook-Ikhine on the show in the summer, and I asked him about that play. I said, when you turned around with all of those Bengal bodies around you, were you surprised that the ball was coming at you? And he said, I was blessed that he threw it to me, which I thought was an unbelievable answer. But can you imagine how surprised you would be if you turned around with 4 dudes on you? Like, I don't know.
I mean, that just goes to show you the difference between Arthur Smith and I know we're going back in time, but Arthur Smith and Todd Downing, how the route concepts and A.J. Brown going across the middle of the field wide open, taking 60, 80 yards to doing ditches and 5-yard inch and hitches and posts and flags. There was no route concept. He did not understand the flow of the game and did not know how to in-game adjust. That's what killed our championship run. And now here we are. Fast forward to today.
A.J. Brown's one of the best inside route running wide receivers in the game, right? Like to your point. And I think that's what Treylon Burks is. And you just don't see it. Now, he was injured and all these things, but like that's got to be what he is too, right? And
I'm hoping it changes this year with Tim Kelly.
Maybe Tim Kelly will change that. I don't know.
Yeah,
here's the way I always think about it. Like, if we can see it, why can't they see it?
Yeah, I mean, we had the whole fan base calling for Downing's job for 2 years, and seemed like they finally had to admit we were right. But it was too late, and I've always said, and I think it's, the biggest difference in the NFL between a 10-6 team and a 6-10 team is coaching. It's very minuscule. And look what happened when we lost Arthur Smith. I know he's struggled a little bit in Atlanta, but he was a godsend for us. So I don't want to get, travel too far back into that time machine because I don't think it's necessary. And, my PTSD is kicking in a little bit because
All of us.
the one thing we didn't have to do, or the only thing we couldn't do with that last possession was turn the ball over. That's it. Go into overtime, run the clock out. We had the momentum, and you just gave the ball back. And it was awful. But that's neither here nor there at the moment. It's funny too because you look at this offense, and you're like, wow, if we just had a receiver like AJ Brown, and then you're like, yeah. We gave them away. So, it's frustrating. It is what it is. And, we can't dwell on the past too much. So going forward, you do think Tannehill will be, our quarterback going forward. I think a lot of people believe that. And you said you think something needs to be done with that $36 million number. I wholeheartedly agree. But don't you think from Tannehill's perspective, if he's seeing Daniel Jones get $40 million, Geno Smith get $35 million, he could turn around in the Titans and say, I've accomplished more than both of those guys combined in the NFL.
Didn't you release him?
I am not taking a pay cut, And if they do release him, it'll probably be after June 1st when they could save, I think, the $27 million.
Yep.
So in that situation, let's just say to play devil's advocate, he doesn't want to take a cut. They do release him. What's your play then?
We talked about it today. So we had Matt Miller on ESPN's NFL Draft Insider, right, at NFL Draft Scout. And he tweeted this yesterday. He said, I wish one of these NFL head coaches would just say, have you seen Caleb Williams and Drake May? Of course, we're rolling with an unproven day 3 pick to start the year. So nobody's going to tank games, but you can conceivably tank games based on roster, right? So I then asked him, could the Titans do that? And he kind of laughed about it. And so, I started in, and I got inflamed by my own words today, but, I like the idea of releasing Tannehill and just throw Malik Willis out there.
Oh!
No, listen. You know how they teach babies how to swim? And I'm not advocating this for anybody to do this, but they just throw them in the water, right? So release Tannehill, save all that money, go get you wide receivers. Do what you want to do. Throw Malik Willis in there like a baby in the water. He either succeeds and is awesome and you're set, or he sucks and maybe you get Caleb Williams or Drake May. So I asked Matt Miller, I said, all right, so where's Caleb Williams, Drake May if they're in this quarterback class? He goes, number 1 pick, number 2 pick. That's how good those dudes are. And he said Caleb Williams, if he has another year like he did last year based on the tape at Oklahoma and USC, that he will be the highest graded guy coming out at quarterback in the last 20 years.
What about my boy Jordan Travis out of Florida State? He's one of the Heisman favorites. He had a hell of a year last year too. I mean, that quarterback draft class next year is stacked.
Which only proves our point earlier with trading back in this draft and accumulating more draft capital, because in a situation like that, hypothetically next year where let's just say you're picking top 10 and you need to get to 1, you then have extra ammunition to get up there, So I know we're backtracking a little, but, the idea of potentially trading back looks more and more appetizing because you can attack it from so many different angles. Pick your players with that team. Use those picks to then move up to get a guy you really want this year or next year, may have you. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think Tannehill is going to be our guy next year.
I agree.
I don't think Vrabel is, as long as I've repeated it over and over, as long as he is our head coach, I don't ever see us tanking. And he is such a good coach. I think we could throw an inexperienced Malik Willis out there and still win 6 or 7 games based on the fact that we have a very good defense still that I think only got better. And we have the former coach of the year. So I just think it's going to be hard for us to go 3-14 or 2-15 and get that number 1 pick. But we shall see.
But you're right about draft capital. So if you're bad enough to get pick 11 again or pick 9 or something like that, and then you can get up to 1, then maybe you give up everything to do that. But Yeah,
It's
Jared,
like
what'd you think?
Titans fans right now, we're waiting for the shoe to drop, and we don't know which shoe it's going to be, but
Right, because to your point, Vin, like they've got that June 1st thing. Like, so what do they do? Do we see Kevin Byard get released? Do we see Ryan Tannehill get released? Do you see Derrick Henry get traded? I don't know. Ron Slay said this about Mike Vrabel. You were talking about how good a coach he is. Slay said this today. He said, I don't care what the roster is. Vrabel could win 7 games playing spades.
Yeah,
it's the truth.
You know, so I think it's like I was just saying, we're waiting for the shoe to drop, no matter what it is. Tannehill, the draft, you know, we just don't know what we're going to do yet because we're waiting on that first thing that's going to happen, which will lead to a domino effect, you know, because if we release Tannehill, you know, after the draft, then obviously we're rolling with Malik. Or if we draft a quarterback and then release Tannehill, then we're going to have a first-year guy and a second-year guy in the quarterback room. So it's just, you know, we're waiting on that shoe to drop that is going to lead to the rest of the dominoes falling.
I'm going to say one thing to touch on this quarterback dilemma we got going on here. If they do release Ryan Tannehill and they save the $27 million, right? I say you start Malik, like you're saying, but the only way they do this, the way I want them to do it, is bring in a vet. I don't know who it would be, but you bring in a vet, just so I have a veteran in that room. You draft Hendon Hooker in the second round. And if he does not pan out, Malik Willis, Hendon Hooker is your guy, because I believe wholeheartedly that no one's talking about him in this draft because he had the ACL and everything like that, but he was a Heisman favorite and he was throwing the ball like crazy in the SEC this whole year. So I'm a big Hendon Hooker guy. So if they do that and they want to start Malik, I'm fine with it, but Hendon Hooker needs to be on this roster.
The beautiful thing about this, like from a fan perspective is, and you know, we were talking about it even in the season, like this is going to be one of those off seasons where 5 years from now, if the Titans are good, it's going to be, you're going to point back to this offseason. If they're bad, you're going to point back to this offseason. I think it's just a fascinating list of possibilities for them in the draft, but also like with these contracts, and do you completely start over and all of those things. I really can't see a scenario where Malik Willis is the starting quarterback and day one. But the truth of the matter is, none of us know Rand Carthon as a GM, right? And I know, Jared, when I brought that up, you lost your mind about Tannehill getting released and going with Malik Willis. And I know a lot of people would too, but it's funny, like doing this show every day, like people can't stand Tannehill, man. And I don't know if it's just like the starting quarterback thing, or people can't, as Vince said, like PTSD from the Bengals game in the playoffs. Like, yeah, it's funny though. Like, and we bring up every quarterback. So like, I mean, Derek Carr was the first guy, right? Like, so we bring him up, everybody hates him. And to me, like Derek Carr is Ryan Tannehill just 3 years ago, basically. We bring up Aaron Rodgers. Nobody wants Aaron Rodgers. We bring up Tannehill. Nobody likes Tannehill. We bring up Lamar Jackson, which surprised me, but everybody like on our chat feed was like, no to Lamar Jackson. Anthony Richardson, no, he's a one-read guy. They cut the field in half. I know he's got the measurables and all that, but you're going to have to wait 2 years. Will Levis, that people are like just –
hell no.
Just it's constant hatred for Will Levis. So, like, today we asked the question, well, which guy do you like? You know, and people are like, I don't know, Bobby Boucher from Waterboy.
I think a lot of Titans fans like C.J. Stroud. We just know that
he's not going to be there.
It's not going to happen. You know, it's not going to happen. So it is what it is. And like I said, we're waiting for the shoe to drop. You know, what's going to happen first, you know? So we'll see.
I mean, at least they've got the defense plugged in pretty good, right? Like,
yeah, defense is set.
And it's a weak division, too. It's a weak division, and Jacksonville's going to have a first-place schedule next year.
You're saying weak division, but Jacksonville does have a first-place schedule. They getting Calvin Ridley back. Timeout. They're getting Calvin Ridley back. And
Agent Zero.
Agent Zero. Yeah, Agent Zero. And Houston, low-key, has made some really good moves.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean,
I'm not saying weak. I mean, we could split all these games.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I just think Jacksonville is going to, you know, they're going to have a year of tape now on that offense.
Oh, yeah.
And last year they came out of nowhere, and now they're going to have a year of tape on that offense. You are adding Calvin Ridley, and I love that he put the amount of bets he's going to make next year as his number, 0. That. Right there. You know,
I'm going to steal that, man.
You can have it. You can have it. But Houston and Indy, I'll believe it when I see it because they've done nothing to show that they're going to be anything worthwhile. I think Houston's going to be a team like Chicago where they were in a lot of games, but they lost them because they're just not there yet. I think they're going to show improvement, maybe win 4, 5, 6 games, but I don't think they're there yet. Although they did have a great offseason, you're right. They could get Bryce Young, and if he's real, they could. We've seen teams turn it on, overnight. So I don't know. I think this defense is stout. It only got better. I think if we run it back with Tannehill and Henry and draft a receiver and maybe add some more offensive line depth, it's absolutely a division that I think Vrabel and Carthon believe they can win. So
I mean, think about the division in these terms. Like I always go back to quarterback. So let's go. Okay, Trevor Lawrence, we know. Okay, they got something there.
Stud.
You mentioned Houston. They go Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or somebody like that. What if Indy gets Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
Then where are the Titans in the pecking order?
Yep.
Without a paddle.
Yeah.
So
without a receiving core or a paddle, we got nothing.
It's bad.
Yeah.
So listen, Brett, it's been awesome having you on the show. But before we let you go, we have a little game, a new game on the podcast, just so our fans get to know you a little bit more. So, Sammy, start us up.
Think fast.
All right, so it's a little game called Think Fast. We're going to put you in the hot seat, ask you a couple questions to get to know you a little bit better. So the first question is, you play golf, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not well.
What is your personal best round?
Oh, geez, I don't know. 92, maybe. I honestly don't know. Like, I reached the point where I got mad when I started playing, and then I started thinking, what do I think I'm going to be, a PGA golfer? No. So now I just drink beer and have as much fun as possible and see the entire course.
There you go. The best guest you ever interviewed?
Ooh. Boy, that's a great one. I mean, I've interviewed anybody you can think of. How about Todd Bridges, Different Strokes?
Okay, here we go.
I don't know why his name popped in my head, but his name popped in my head. That guy's been through a lot, let me tell you.
Yeah, you've interviewed a ton. So, I mean, if that one pops in your
head,
it's all good.
How about Jim Nance? Jim Nance called the show the other day.
Cool. There you go.
He called the show the other day on the listener line. He lives in Nashville.
That's awesome. If you can go to one sporting event per year, what would the sporting event be?
So I've been to a Final Four. I've been to a Super Bowl. I've been to a World Series. I've been to a Stanley Cup final.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I've been to the Masters. Masters is
I'm dying to go.
I went to a Thursday Masters round. That was probably up there. World Series is pretty damn good though.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to the World Series. I would love to go to a Masters. I put in every year. So hopefully.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Moving on.
Incredible.
Best barbecue spot in Nashville.
Martin's Barbecue on Belmont. That's where I go. It's on the way to work. So Pat Martin, shout out.
There you go. Stealing this from Sal. He posted it on Twitter. So shout outs to Sal, even though he's not here tonight. If the Titans were putting up a statue at the new stadium, who would the player be?
Steve McNair, right?
Has to be, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe the picture of them hugging. You know what I mean? That famous,
him and Eddie George.
Yeah, Eddie George and McNair hugging. That famous.
I've always lobbied for, like, they need a statue of the Music City Miracle, like in its form.
That's been the background of my computer since like 2010.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it on the air. Like, nobody will do anything about it. Nobody listens to me, but like, I just think like kids would love it. Like, put everybody where they were, exactly the same distance that they were from each other. I think that would be really cool.
Front and center. That's another good one. That would be good.
Just make sure they let everyone know it was a backwards pass.
That's right. That's right.
Football in the air. Favorite hobby?
Probably golf. Honestly, like I said, I suck at it, but it's so much fun. You get on a golf course, you kind of forget about everything else that's going on. You know, it's such an escape thing.
As I'm playing Friday, so you're right about that for sure.
Yeah.
Last question before we let you go. If you're the Titans general manager tomorrow morning, you wake up, what is your first move and order of business?
Boy, that's a great question. See, you ask these tough questions, Jared. I mean, there's so many things that you need to do, right? Like,
First order of business.
First order of business.
Current state.
I guess find a wide receiver. Damn it! What will we need to give up to get DeAndre Hopkins? Let me know.
I would do it. I would give it 3 in a heartbeat.
Right, because that's what they need. The speed guy. They need the speed guy.
Yep. And a
but
vet
then you're a little crazy because you refuse to sign AJ at 22 a year at age 24.
They won't do it.
And
I know
it's a different GM, but then you're going to give 31, 32-year-old DeAndre Hopkins 25, 30 million a year. Although I think it'd be the most Titans thing ever if we were to get him and he just didn't work out because it just seemed
right.
For real.
All right, here's my answer. Do what you need to do to move money around, cut whoever you need to cut to sign Big Jeff. Go ahead and do that. That would be my first.
That is a solid answer.
Okay.
He needs the blank check.
On second thought, yes.
Yeah. Listen, this has been ridiculously awesome having you on. You're such a down-to-earth guy. Hopefully we can have you on in the future. Maybe Ron Slay or even Dawn on the podcast. We had Kayla Anderson on last week.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely want to be in touch with you. So guys, Brett Daughtry, everybody, you can listen to him on 3HL weekdays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time on 104.5 The Zone. So Brett, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll be talking to you very soon.
Thanks,
Appreciate
buddy.
you guys, man. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one. All right, that wraps up Brent tonight. He was definitely an awesome guest, very down-to-earth guy. What'd you think, man?
I thought he was awesome. He seems like a guy you want to I'm not a golfer, but, shoot the shit with, play some golf, drink some beer. You can definitely tell he definitely packs lips when he's golfing.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know if anybody listens to his show, 3HO or Dawn Davenport and Ron Slay. I mean, I'm a big Nashville media guy. I love listening to Kayla and Ramon and Will in the morning on my way to work. And then on my way home, I'll throw those guys on 3HL. So it's great to have them in there. And, shout out to them for even coming on and answering us. So we appreciate that. So we got some exciting news, right? We finally got a partner with this podcast. So for our fans, we've partnered with Manscaped. So with this episode, the support of the Sick Pod Talking Titans is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped performance packages, the unlimited. I'm like Taylor One. I can't read a script. The performance
right now.
Yeah, the unlimited men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you: 20% off and free worldwide shipping with our code SICKTITANS at manscaped.com. If I'm doing the math correctly, that's 14 million balls, Vin.
That is 14 million. I mean, we don't know. Some people might only have certain things happen in life, but yes, that is 14 million balls that we are helping out here. And let me tell you, there's absolutely nothing worse when you're trimming the old brajol and the meatballs and you get a nick, you get a cut, you get an ingrown hair. I've been there. I'm sure Jared's been there. I'm sure every man in America and worldwide has had an experience like that.
With those 5-blade razors, it's very, very tough. You got to get in those crevices.
Yeah, we grew up in a time where there was no Manscaped. But let me tell you what Manscaped is going to do for you, because the Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and it is a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. Got some hairy hair, nose, hairy ears. As we get a little older, hair's popping out everywhere.
I just trimmed my nose hair yesterday.
Nice. The Crop Ball Preserver deodorant, the Crop Reviver toner, the Performance Boxer Briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0, this trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and has 4K LED spotlight you need for a more precise shave. Little lighting. Their lighting probably looks more like mine than it does yours, Jared.
Yes. So what you're saying is you're not in the shower with the 5-blade razor and your legs spread open and you're trying to, stretch out the bag and you can actually see now.
Yeah, you gave our fans quite the visual there, buddy.
There you go.
But because this trimmer is waterproof, you could say goodbye to the mess on the bathroom floor because you could do it in the shower. And you thought that was good. But wait, want to take your grooming game even to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer like we talked about, because as you get into your 30s, hair starts popping out all over in different spots every day. Like I said, the Weed Whacker was waterproof and provides a proprietary skin-safe technology which helps reduce, like I said, nicks, snags, cuts, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. Whichever holes you're putting them in, we're going to help reduce those nicks and cuts. Their Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. We want everything smelling good for your girlfriend, for your boyfriend, whatever you're into. We want it smelling good for whoever is going to be down there. So do yourself a favor, fellas, and go get the Performance Package 4.0.
Trust me, fellas, your balls will thank you later for that. Manscaped even threw 2 free gifts into their Performance and Package 4.0. The Manscaped Boxers and their Shed travel bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. It's time to take care of yourself and go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code SICKTITANS. So that's, again, get 20% off and free shipping with the code SICKTITANS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code SICKTITANS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. So, little story with Manscaped. I've been using Manscaped now for probably a year, and it has changed my life dramatically. Like I said, I went from 5 blades to now this. I have a routine now every Wednesday. I trim up the nice little bean bag.
Jared Jr.
I trim up the little bean bag. So, it looks like opening day of a baseball field down there for me. So I'm ready to go every week.
Beautiful. That's more information than I think we all needed. I won't get into my routine because we want to gain subscribers. We don't want to lose them. So just do yourself a favor. Go on Manscaped. Use our code SICKTITANS. That's SICKTITANS. All one word. Get 20% off your purchase. Do yourself a favor. Do your significant other a favor. And go make it happen.
For real. Guys, that is it for us tonight. What an awesome show. Hopefully we have another awesome guest on tonight. Vin, this has been a pleasure, especially with our new partner in Manscaped. So I can't wait for next week's episode. And guys, thank you so much. And you can always follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, all the platforms. So please like, subscribe, retweet, get us out there. We are still growing and we're growing strong. Guys, we'll talk to you next week. Sammy, start us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.